So welcome to my channel, guys. I'm back with a fuel return system for the Honda K20. Where I last left off was where I showed you guys all the different parts and things you'd need for a fuel return system. And I told you I'd make a video on how it was being set up. Unfortunately, my mechanic did not want to reveal his method on what he did with the fuel pump and the fuel regulator, the in-tank one. But I'll show you guys a picture. I'll include it in the video, how you can bypass the fuel regulator in-tank. So one thing you can get is a blank for it, because the fuel regulator in the tank, it like pops in and out. You can find it once you take out the fuel tank, the fuel. Well, once you take out the fuel model, you have that plastic cover, and then once you undo those clips and you take out the fuel model with the fuel pump, set it aside, you'll see how the lines run. Before it goes to the pump, it goes tees into something, and then it goes to the pump, and then it gets sent out. So there where it goes tees in, I'll make a circle around it. What you guys can get is you can get a blank for it. I'll see if I can find that website and link the product in the description, and then you can just remove out that fuel regulator, set it aside, and then put that one in. If I remember correctly, I think, speaking in American terms, that costs around about 50 US bucks. In our money, that's about 500, 550, 600 Namibian dollars. But another way, what you can do with the fuel regulator in tank, the way we did it, we took the module out, set it aside, and took the pump configuration out and put that aside. Then instead of the pump pumping through the regulator and then to the pump and then to the rest of the car, we just fitted a fuel hose from the fuel pump straight to the outlet, where it is behind, where it is at the tank, literally coming to the engine. So what my fuel pump is doing now currently, it's pumping straight to my engine. So that entire in-tank fuel regulator bypassed completely. So for that, you might have to rather cut off that fuel hose, the stock one, and then fit in aftermarket fuel hose. Make sure it's submersible for fuel, and that it's threaded on the inside of the fuel hose, because it goes under a lot of pressure. So you don't just want any normal sort of hose, because it can probably burst or something. You want threaded inside so that it's nice and strong. Fit it over straight to the outlet and then straight to the engine. So what you guys can see, the steel braided line, it's a bit messy in my engine bay. Running straight from the bottom of the car, and that goes straight to the bottom of my fuel regulator. So that's obviously my return line. And okay, so this is going to be really straightforward. My fuel rail is there. I'm not going to remove the cover now, and that feeds into the fuel regulator. Remember, I said last time, the fuel regulator only has an inlet and the inlet, and the outlet and the outlet. You can configure it in both ways, but the bottom one is the return one. So that makes a difference. It's not like you can just hook up anything anyway. So for my style, the best method is after the fuel rail, so that now you can regulate the fuel which is in between. Some people do have it before, and that's where you would use both sides, one for inlet, one for outlet to the rail, and then in between, then you'd have your return. And then the vacuum line, you would have to get a vacuum line from a line that's behind the throttle body. Sorry, camera was a bit off position. You would have to get a vacuum line that's, if you see, okay, that just follows, it goes under the cover, above the fuel rail, not against the rocker cover. And like I said, you do want it to align. In this case, let me switch off my light. There we go. In this case, this is my line. If you follow my finger, it goes behind the throttle body. The same way you would want to connect your blower valve behind the throttle body for what's inside the intake manifold. Remember that. And then straightforward, got an elbow there, and that fits to the return line that goes back. What I did for mounting it, I took a piece of flat metal, bent it and welded it to the bracket, and that's mounted to the to one of the mountings of the car. And in case you guys wondered, I do have like a cushion there at the bottom. Yes, that steel braided line looks a bit messy. I do have like a rubber cushion at the bottom of the fitting. And in case if you guys are wondering about my deck clearance, I did have to screw a hole, bore a hole big enough for the adjustment to fit in. Yeah, of course, there's different methods, different places you can put the fuel regulator. For my case, I found that was the best position because it's after the fuel rail. And if you remember my engine bay from this side, the air intake from the turbo, my baby is at the back, I'm busy working on the car. The intake sits right about here, so this place is already cluttered and full as it is. Damn it, to show you guys now what's behind at the fuel tank, how I fitted that return style, I have, because the seats already fitted back, I have fittings here. So this is what I had to get. This is a bulk end fitting, like I told you guys last time. So if you check out your Honda K20s, the FT2 type, once you check out the fuel model, the lid on top, you will find there's like a round blank space on the fuel lid. And if you check at the opposite side of that, at the bottom, you see that there is like cross lines running over it for extra rigidity of the lid. But at that same place where I spoke about, where that hard spot is, that looks like a blank, and at the bottom, is also a blank. In my way, I found it like these people knew exactly that a fuel return style might have been an option one day. And why I mention it is, if you bore right through that, you don't have to bore at any other places, because there's only that one place that's round and blank. Is exactly that. Once you bore through that and you fit that bulk end fitting through, it will fit in perfectly. And even with the nut that goes at the bottom to lock it against the lid, that's where that blank space comes in. Like everything has its rigidity lines, but at that exact same space at the bottom, there is a blank space also, and that fits exactly for, this is a AN6, I think it's a 3/8 inch fitting, so that 3/8 inch nut fits in perfectly right there at the bottom to lock it off. And remember the tip I told you guys, get another submersible hose that runs now from the other end of the bulkhead fitting down to the bottom of your tank, so you don't get that airlock from all the return fuel being splattered back into the fuel tank. But it doesn't make much of a difference. I asked my mechanic about that. It says that some cars do have that vapor lock thing in the car, that if it picks up pressure, it like release it out, something like that. But he told me it makes no difference in the engine bay, in the fuel tank. So there you guys have it, finishing up on the fuel return system. Another method, what you guys can do with the fuel regulator in tank, is people speak about clamping it, crimping it, crushing it. They speak about crushing it. I think it's where they like crush it in between or something. My mechanic did not know about that. I do not know many other people around, maybe a Ventuk, that knows about that. So we just bypassed the entire fuel regulator, and that's it. Stock pressure I'm currently getting is 43 psi. Remember, for every psi of boost, you adjust 1 psi of fuel pressure, and it's good to always have 1 psi more than that, for just in case. So how to adjust the fuel pressure regulator?